Raw, Southern power redefined. The grueling grit of Arlington, Texas kicked two brothers into overdrive from the 80s to beyond. Fierce attacks, brutal grooves, and kick-ass riffs created a sound never before heard by mere mortals. The master behind the riffage? Dimebag Darrell. I'm Gavin, and you're watching Riff Masters. Heavily inspired by one of the most iconic duos in all of rock, the Van Halen brothers. Ever heard of them? Texas natives Darrell and Vinny Abbott set out to change the game forever. It's the 80s. The world is covered by nothing but glam metal. The likes of Bon Jovi, Motley Crue, Poison, Whitesnake, they comprise almost the entirety of mainstream music as far as the musically inept public is concerned. There's no real power. Just a lot of guys wearing makeup with stupid hairdos. The music scene wasn't where it needed to be. Then came true metal. Raised on a healthy diet of Van Halen, Judas Priest, Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, and the like, Darrell Abbott would soon have his run on the world, unleashing a flurry of blistering guitar playing more aggressive than what most had ever heard at the time. With his brother Vinny by his side, Dime would blaze a trail through the land of metal and set the trend for the future of the genre. Now, Pantera did technically start out as a power glam thing, but the Abbott brothers quickly figured out that this is not what they were about. Throughout the latter half of the 80s, some of the most definitive thrash metal albums ever were released in rapid succession. Their impact was profound. Bands like Metallica and Megadeth were imparting their influence on millions of true music fans, the ones that wouldn't recognize all that glam crap as a legitimate form of music. Pantera picked up this raw sound and ran with it. Adopting some of this monstrous style into his own playing, Dime developed his craft to the point that he was a standout figure in the metal scene. Having mastered his instrument, he went and auditioned for Megadeth, and he actually made the cut. But that wasn't enough for Dime. Being the loyal brother that he was, Dime demanded that his brother Vinny be brought on board as well. But this simply couldn't happen. Dave Mustaine just had no need for a drummer at the time. Dime turned him down. Which isn't really a bad thing, considering the fact that Dime not joining left a vacancy for a little guy you may have heard of, Marty Friedman, to come and join Megadeth and make some of the most definitive thrash records ever made. The Abbott brothers returned to Pantera with a newfound drive. They poured everything they had into forging a new album that would change the metal scene forever. What was this album called? Cowboys from Hell. And thus, groove metal was born. Dime's combination of heavy-as-hell melodic and rhythmic ideas, combined with his southern upbringing, manifested themselves in powerful riffs that retained some basis and blues rock, but infused metal like never before seen. His solos screamed like Eddie Van Halen's did in the decades before. His connection with his brother Vinny locked in like few other duos in musical history. The Abbott brothers had changed the world, and they would do it again. 1992 saw the release of Vulgar Display of Power, and this time Pantera one-upped themselves. The riffs were nastier, the grooves were groovier, the headbanging was heavier. Something incredibly rare had been accomplished. The sequel was just as good as, if not better than, the original, but there was still more work to be done. 1994's Far Beyond Driven would prove to be the band's most successful album ever, charting #1 on the Billboard Top 200 upon its release. Pantera was now solidified in metal history. The grooves were back, the riffs were back, and the power was back, to stay. As the band started facing the issues that all of the mega bands faced, strain and tension began sprouting between vocalist Phil Anselmo and the rest of the band. This would lead to the tedious recording process of the third album. Despite Anselmo's battles with his personal vices, The Great Southern Trendkill would be released in 1996 and solidify Pantera's place in rock history. Adopting a much darker sound than the previous two albums, almost bordering on doom metal in songs like Floods and 13 Steps to Nowhere, the band had proven that it was capable of further developing, and develop it did. It was on this album that one of Dime's most important solos ever was recorded, Floods. Dime, at this point, had reached further than most ever would or ever will. He was a guitar god. The band struggled at the turn of the millennium as personality tensions reached a new high. Anselmo's personal problems made him impossible to work with, so the Abbott brothers found a new path. Although the new band, Damage Plan, would see some commercial success, it would only release one album. The dynasty would soon come to an end. On December 8th, 2004, during the opening song of a Damage Plan show in Columbus, Ohio, Dime was shot and killed. The world lost a true guitar legend that day. The metal sphere was lit ablaze. But legends never die. Throughout his short time as one of the most influential metal guitarists in the world, Dimebag Darrell emerged from an era afraid to spread true metal unto the world and unleashed a wave of guitar playing like no other before him. The impact he and his brother had on the world can still be seen to this day throughout modern music in many, many forms. Sadly, and most recently, Vinnie Paul passed away on June 22, 2018, marking the end of the Pantera legacy. Although they are no longer with us, they are undoubtedly reunited in playing some of the greatest music imaginable wherever they are. They live on through their music and will continue to do so for many years and generations to come. Alright, that's what you need to know to understand the true riff master that Dimebag Darrell was. If you like this video, be sure to like it down below. Give me your thoughts on what you thought of Dime, as well as some other great guitarists you think I should cover. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at gavin.guitar, and I'll see you next time.